Hi, I'm Kyle Zachary, Public Relations Officer for the Kahnawake Peacekeepers, and this is Just the Facts. On this episode, we've partnered with KSCS and we'll be taking a closer look at impaired driving. Impaired driving happens when a motorist has consumed an intoxicating substance that impairs their ability to operate a conveyance. An intoxicating substance is any substance, whether legal or illegal, that alters a person's ability to function when introduced into the body. We're talking alcohol, cannabis, cocaine, opioids, and more. Operating a motor vehicle under the influence of one or more of these substances is a criminal offense. Now, you might be asking, Kyle, wasn't cannabis legalized years ago? Yes, it was. But it is still a criminal offense to operate a motor vehicle after you've consumed cannabis. You can be charged with impaired driving if you are operating or have the care and control of any means of conveyance that has a motor. This means an automobile, a snowmobile, all-terrain vehicles, a boat, an aircraft, railway equipment, even mobility scooters and lawnmowers. The prohibited blood alcohol concentration is 80 milligrams or more of alcohol per 100 milliliters of blood. What does a peacekeeper do when they investigate an impaired driver? Well, it depends on the situation. If the vehicle is in motion, the officer will observe the driving habits of the vehicle's operator. Some things that the officer will watch for are if the vehicle's speed keeps changing, if the vehicle is swerving in its lane, or how well the operator executes a turn or other steering inputs. If the officer sees enough to suspect that the driver is impaired, they will intercept the vehicle for further investigation. Once the vehicle is pulled over, the officer identifies the driver and looks for signs and symptoms of impairment. Alcohol causes certain physiological effects in the body that are easily observable and cannot be hidden by simply chewing gum, lighting a cigarette to cover the smell of alcohol, or chugging a bottle of water. Even if the vehicle is parked or crashed, the officer can still initiate an investigation into the sobriety of the person in care and control of the vehicle and make an arrest if necessary. If the officer observes enough signs and symptoms, they will proceed with the next step in assessing the driver's sobriety. These are known as field sobriety tests. The first method of field sobriety testing is the AlcoSensor FST unit, which is a portable instrument that analyzes a breath sample and displays one of three possible results on a screen: pass, caution, or fail. If a subject is in the pass range, this means that there is little to no alcohol in the subject's body. And if there are still signs of impairment visible, it could mean that they are impaired by a substance other than alcohol, or they're experiencing a medical issue and may need to be assessed by a doctor. Typically, a caution result means the concentration of alcohol in the subject's body is high enough that they are on the borderline of the legal limit and could even be above it. When a subject is in this range, an officer will impound the vehicle and get the driver home safely without making an arrest for impaired driving. There are no charges filed, and the driver can retrieve their vehicle after enough time has passed that there is no more alcohol in their system. A failure result means that the subject is over the legal limit and will be placed under arrest for impaired driving. Sometimes the operator of the vehicle can be impaired by a substance that is not alcohol. If that's the case, there are a few methods of field sobriety tests utilized by the peacekeepers. The first is a series of coordination tests, like the ones you see on TV. Finally, a drug recognition expert, or DRE, can be utilized by the peacekeepers if the subject is impaired by a substance other than alcohol. Like alcohol, drugs present certain symptoms and signs in the human body that cannot be hidden. A DRE is trained to observe a subject and can identify not only if a subject is impaired, but which substance the subject is impaired by. The peacekeepers have 3 DREs on our roster of officers. If one or more of the 3 FSTs is not completed successfully, the officer can place the driver under arrest for impaired driving. If an officer places a driver under arrest, their vehicle will be impounded until the owner can reclaim it after paying towing and impound fees. If the owner of the vehicle was the one arrested for impaired driving, they'll have to wait until enough time has passed for them to be sober. After an arrest, the subject is brought before a qualified technician who will collect up to 3 breath samples on a breath analysis instrument that's known as the Datamaster DMTC. This instrument can measure an exact amount of blood alcohol concentration in a subject. It's user-friendly and easy to comprehend its results. For a first offense for impaired driving, the guilty party can be sentenced to a maximum of 10 years in prison or a mandatory minimum of a $1,000 fine. A second offense raises the mandatory minimum to 30 days imprisonment, with a third offense raising the mandatory minimum sentence to 120 days. These penalties increase significantly if there's a collision or someone is hurt or killed. It is estimated that with lawyer fees and fines, a person charged with impaired driving could spend anywhere up to and including $10,000 in their defense. Keep that in mind and plan ahead before you consume. Take a taxi, phone a friend, a family member, or have a designated driver. Respect our community. Keep each other safe. On behalf of the Kahnawake Peacekeepers and Kahnawake Sagotiat Community Services, I'm Kyle Zachary, and this was Just a Fact.